Are live with Andrés Martín, my friend, my colleague. If you are joining us on YouTube, welcome. If you're joining us on Facebook in our Conversations group, welcome. If you want to comment, we would love to hear from you and answer questions. If you are on Facebook, your comments will show up, but they'll be in this kind of strange anonymous way. And if you want to actually have your name be seen, you can see this URL here. Just go to streamyard.com/Facebook, and it's just a quick thing. It'll authenticate you, and then your comments will appear with your name. But give us a shout out. Let us know where you're from, where you're listening, and any questions you have from Andrés. And we're going to be talking about this new solo bass, which I know Andrés is super excited about. I'm excited about, and we got some footage to share, and the bass is right there behind Andrés. So welcome, Andrés. And again, anybody throw in some questions. And hi, Marco. Great to have you here, and really looking forward to this conversation. So welcome, Andrés.
Hi.
And hello, friends from a Facebook user. And if you want to have your name show up, just go to this URL right here, streamyard.com/Facebook. Andrés, we started talking about this in, what was it, 2018? This bass, was it that long ago?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's so cool to actually see the bass there behind you. And I was there when you picked that bass up and got to hear you play the first few notes, and you had a smile on your face, and just, I don't even know where to begin, but we got the bass here. We've done a podcast about the story of the bass, so folks can check that out. But why don't you just fill people in on how this went from an idea into the instrument behind you?
Well, it was a long process, and we've had a bit of a pandemic in the middle.
Yep.
But we made it through, and it's a reality now. And I couldn't be happier with the result.
And there have been several stages here. And since I knew we were going to talk, Andrés, I pulled up a clip you sent me in 2019, the International Society of Basses Convention. Andrés opened up the first prototype for this instrument, and like an hour later, he was playing it. So let me call up on the screen this video of the first prototype. So just look at the bass behind Andrés. Welcome from Thailand. Thanks for being here. And this is what the initial prototype looked like. So and that is at the bass convention, so that's why there's all that noise in the background. We have a question from Marco. Let me call that up here so people can see. Is it difficult for an adult or person over 21 years of age to start playing the double bass? Andrés, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I think it's difficult for everyone. It doesn't matter what age you have, but it's more rewarding than difficult. So I would say that it's worth the try, it's worth the time invested, and I don't think there's an age age limit to start with double bass, because there's joy behind every hour you spend with the instrument.
Absolutely. And I think bass in particular, I know a lot of people that start bass a little bit later in life and go on and do all sorts of things on the instrument. Here in San Francisco, where I live, the principal bass of the San Francisco Symphony started at 18, and he has one of the best jobs in this country for classical bass players. So it's a great question, Marco. Anybody else, any questions? We're here to answer questions, and just love to have you, that you're all here joining us. But Andrés, I love that you decided to play that bass, that first prototype, and pull it out and play with, I believe, Aaron Olguin on the opening recital of the last in-person bass convention we had. What was it like playing that first prototype, like the first rough draft of your image for this bass?
Well, I remember there was not any obligation or commitment to actually perform on that bass. And I had access to over, I don't know, 100 basses over there. And some of them, some of the best basses in the world. But I was so crazy excited with that instrument. And at the minute I took it off the case, I felt it was mine. And I couldn't resist performing on that bass. So I remember I requested my dear friends of Didario to give me a set of solo strings. I changed the strings a half hour before the going out and playing, and it was fantastic. And I remember Aaron has a huge sound, and he was playing on this old French bass, beautiful instrument, and I was playing next to him, and I felt great. I didn't feel less at any given moment, and I was crazy happy with it because I wasn't expecting that much, because it's a budget instrument, and I was extremely happy and extremely excited, and I really enjoyed it. It was I think the audience may have noticed that because we were having so much fun on stage, and to me, a big part of it was the instrument.
And it was so fun to hear you play those first notes on the instrument. And then you did a recital, your own recital later in the week. I had the pleasure of joining you for that. And Didario filmed that. And I've actually got a quick clip here for folks just so they can understand the story. This is Andres's, I believe it's his solo sonata, played on this first prototype. And this is footage from Didario. And Andres is a Didario artist as well as an Eastman artist. And so this is, I mean, I love hearing you on any instrument. It's just great to hear you on this. And it's so cool that you played your recital on this. But this was like the rough draft, right? This was the first in journey, the first step on a journey. And before we go on, Marco has one more question, and I love that we're getting some questions. And if anybody else has some questions for Andres about anything or this solo bass or anything, please let us know. But Marco also asks something that we all think about. I think about every day. How do you organize your daily study time on the double bass? What do you do these days, Andres? Or what would you recommend someone who's kind of getting started?
Well, it's a very good question. I think practice, it's kind of a journey on its own because we all have a different way of different results uh, according to how we practice. And learning how to practice it's a learning about yourself. So I think, especially when you are beginning, you have to be open to trying many different things and many different ways of practicing, because eventually you have to find the one that fits you best and the one that gives you the best results, and that can change. So for some people, being very structured and very like practicing every day at the same time, in the same order, the same structure in your practice, that brings big benefits. But for some others, that could be boring. That could be very stressing. And knowing that you have to find the way that works best for you, and at least to me, it took many years. And for my own, I found that practicing every day different works very well. And when I was starting, I was very structured. Sorry. And I will practice every day at the same time with a clock, setting alarms. I would spend the same amount of time on the one that I decided or my teacher suggested me. I will practice in the same order, like first long notes, then scales, then different etudes. And eventually, over the years, I found out that that was boring for me, and it was at the same time not appealing. So what I found is that if I kept the the the, the things that I need to practice So if I know I have to practice different skills, like I have to practice low notes, I have to practice to have a better tone, I have to practice some scales, arpeggios, or etudes. If I know the content, then I can every day do it differently, but always be covering what I need to cover. And that ended up being a lot more engaging to me, and I started getting best results. So today and every day I grab my bass to practice. I know in my mind what I have to work on, and some days are pretty similar and some other days are pretty different. And I also learn how when to know is the perfect time for me to practice, because my brain and my muscles and my body is not at the same peak at any given moment of the day. So before, when I started, I was looking for the free time clusters or the time I could schedule for my practice. But today I know that if I'm free after lunch, I'm not going to practice well, and whatever I do in that time is not going to be a benefit for me, because after eating I'll be half dead. So I schedule my practice times in the moment of the day I know I'm going to be in my best shape for doing that specific activity. So bottom line, if you are just starting, I will uh, I will suggest you to be open to try different things, to experiment a lot, and also to track your results and your experience every single day. So at the end of the week or at the end of the month, you can go back and see what worked and what didn't work for you. And then you will be able to start doing changes or seeking for help or for more advice. But that will be my very first suggestion.
It's a great suggestion, and it's interesting. The older I've gotten, the more I've gotten to be consistent with tracking, and like you, I have various times that work better for me than other times, and there's a season in life where you're busier than other times. But I like to just track and write down on a daily basis, and then every once in a while I look back and I look for trends. When did things seem to really be clicking, and then how was I working? And it's just like the more information you have, it's a self-discovery process, this music journey that we're on, and learning when you work optimally and on what, and it's something that I think changes for it's different for everyone, and it can change for people depending on where they are in their life.
Yes, and we also change. We are not the same person every single day.
Mhm.
And you're not going to be the same next year and in 2 years and 3 years. And that's why it's very important to track significant things, because you're going to realize you have changed. And also, like you said, you can track and realize what have been working for you and what is not. It's a very valuable information.
Well, so this speaking of tracking things, you sat down and created this wonderful report on everything about that first prototype that we just saw, and then what the next step is. And so, and like you mentioned, we had a pandemic in the middle of all of this, but we got the first one had the aspects of what you wanted, but there was still work to be done. Is that a fair way to look at it?
Yeah.
So take what is evolved, and maybe we haven't brought it up yet, but maybe what are you looking for in a bass? What about this new shape? How does this like fit your particular playing needs?
Well, first off, I wouldn't dare to say it's new, because today it's very difficult to even claim you come up with something new, because there should be someone else who did it before. Especially as a creative person in my own music, I always accept that someone has done something similar before. So anyway, yes, I remember when I did that report, I was very afraid because I felt so lucky and so honored that Eastman built a fantastic instrument for me. And I was like, they will be mad with me. And to my surprise, they took it so seriously, and they really invested time and brains into even making it better. And the reason, the biggest reason I was afraid, it was because it was so good. I mean, that bass, I since the moment I took it out of the case and played it at the convention, you have no idea how many people approached to me wanting to buy the bass. And the thing was that even I remember that that first day I got it and performed with Aaron was a Monday, and my recital, the little excerpt you streamed, it was a Thursday, and I kept playing on that bass, and the bass started to sound better and better every day. It felt like like every day was a different instrument, but better. And that's why I decided to use it for my whole recital. It was a 1 hour recital with other great bass players too, and and that's a big hall. I was also surprised that that beautiful organ hall will really be filled with that instrument, even playing with a grand piano behind of me. And I was afraid to change anything about it because it was already fantastic. Uh, it sounded immediately. You know what I look in the bass. It's that the sound projection is fast. The usual problem I run up with basses is that with most basses is that the sound projection usually it's a bit slow. So when I play in a chamber music setting, that's okay because I can compensate with my bow attack and with energy, and usually it blends in with the most basses blends in with all the rest of the instruments, so that's okay. But when I have to play solos or I have to play a very demanding chamber piece, I really need the reaction. And my playing, it's a little aggressive, as you could see. uh, and I also need a fast response on the instrument, and especially because I do a lot of solo playing, I need that the color of the instrument it's a bit on the brighter side, um, because otherwise you have to struggle a lot to cut in, like we'll say in popular music, cutting into the mix, because if the tone of the bass blends in automatically, then you struggle to stand out. When the tone of the instrument is a bit on the brighter side, then it will the frequency is going to cut between all the other instruments and like a violin, and then you're not struggling anymore. And then if you want to play a good piano or lower your dynamic range or open your dynamic range, then you are freer to do it. Uh, so I have an old instrument that does that perfectly. And I always believed it was because of the size of the box and some of the shape. And also I believed it was something was in the angle of the fingerboard. I'm not a luthier, so I don't really know the scientific answer to this. And I may be saying silly things. Sorry if I do. But I always wanted to experiment with that. But the problem I run more often is that with the basses, I do have this fast response, brighter tone, and especially that the response in the last portion of the fingerboard. When I play in the four strings, they sound nothing. So it's, and that happens to the bass I have, and I've been playing for all these years. So it's very rewarding in the upper register, but in the middle or low register, there's nothing. So the idea was to do a shape on the box that somehow integrates both things. So it has some very quick projection and also has some low end, like we will say it has balls. Sorry. So and also I requested a very specific angle in the fingerboard and obviously an extension on the high register. So this first prototype had all of that, and it was fantastic. And that bass was done with very cheap wood because it was a prototype, but it already sounded fantastic. So I was very close to stick with that, just because I was afraid of changing something that could affect this fantastic result. But I also felt like the shape of the box was crazy pointy. It looks like two different bases were chopped in the middle and glued together. And it was kind of the concept, but it was not aesthetically beautiful. Although I have to confess that over the months were passing and I started to fall in love with this shape. But I knew that it was not going to be uh, love at first sight for most people. So I decided to try a more, I would say, harmonical shape. It's more, it has other proportions, which are, I'm missing the word. Well, which are more balanced. Nothing is out of proportion with this new shape, new drawing. And also there were very small details in angles and roundiness and I don't know. There were a ton of very tiny details. So when the second prototype arrived with the same and the second prototype I requested to be with the exact same materials so that we could compare one to another. And this second prototype, you gave it to me at NAM show, right?
Exactly.
And it was better. I couldn't believe it. I was very afraid, but it was better. It was hard to tell in that environment with all that noise. I already felt it very, very good, even with that noise. But then I took it home and I started to play, and it was immediately it was better, and it was far more beautiful to my eyes. So after that, the following prototype was a little better craftsmanship, and now we have the one that is behind me that has the best woods and that has already the varnish I chose and the machines and everything, and it's oh my god, I love it so much. Um, I really can't believe it's this good. Um, it really, to me, I have everything I need. And I've been doing chamber music playing, solo playing, tango playing, and it works on every situation. And it keeps getting the same fast response, the same attack definition I look for, the same bright tone, but it has more low end. It has a very it's crazy difficult to find words to describe tone, right?
Yeah.
But I really love it.
It's I love it too, and we've got some photos to show of the new bass and some of Andres playing recently, and I believe it was the prototype, the video that you shared with me, Andres. Was that footage that was not with this bass behind you? That was with the second prototype, correct?
I don't know which one are
Well,
you.
we'll find out. But we do
Yeah.
have a good question from Martine. Asks, where are you from, Andres? And there are a couple answers to that. But why don't you let folks know a little bit about besides designing awesome basses, where you're from and what you do.
Well, I'm from Argentina. I was born and raised in Buenos Aires, and 20 years ago I moved to Mexico, and I live here.
And you've been playing in the orchestra there all those years, and then doing
Yes.
so many other things. I like to say I run into Andres, even though we both live not too far away from each other. I bump into him in Australia, in Spain, in Mexico, in all over the place, and it's really interesting how your career has developed. Got some more comments. Thanks, folks. And if you have any questions for Andres and you want to write in, either on Facebook or on YouTube, wherever you're watching, thanks for joining us. And we're here to answer your questions. And I put together a quick montage. You can see that beautiful bass in the background. Andres is this wonderful photographer in Tijuana. What's the name of your photographer again?
Well, his nickname is El Tripper.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Jaime Lázaro. He's one of the most talented artists I've ever met. He's just fantastic.
And Andres over the years has just amazing photos that he's done with him. And I put together just a quick montage of some of these photos so you can see some details of the bass and also just this wonderful photography. And so you can see in some of those shots, I'll go back to the end here. You can see what Andres is talking about. He got his bass. He has a C extension, a low extension, and that allows Andres to go down to, normally it would go down to a low C. Andres, are you keeping it at a low, or you're tuning it down to a low B flat, correct?
B flat, yeah.
Okay. So, which is opening up, I know, all sorts of options for you, and just a couple other details. Andres, we have some shots here. Might be a little hard to see there. I'll go back to the screen here. You can see in the bass, the actual bass behind Andres, he has this extended fingerboard as well, which gives you the range of the grand piano practically.
Well, yeah, it's almost another octave. Yes, and it really it has a lot of definition. And what I found is that because I've been playing with a high extension for a number of years, and what I found is that in the normal range, because usually in a normal fingerboard will be reaching what, E flat, D.
Right.
When you have a high extension, that last portion of the normal fingerboard has a lot more definition than with a normal fingerboard. And also there's a psychological benefit of it. Because I remember before, every time I was playing and reaching those last notes on the fingerboard, I will be a little bit afraid, like, oh my God, I'm so high. Right now, it feels like I'm in the middle of the fingerboard. So it's like, oh, this is easy. There's a lot more until I find the last notes. And even then, in this bass, when I play on the last notes of the fingerboard and the other prototypes is the same, it sounds equal. It's the definition of the notes, it's right on. And that's not something, that's something not so common. And well, to me, it has been some kind of an addiction. I'm not playing all the time over there, of course, but when I'm writing, it's very tempting because I have an extended range. Now, I'm enjoying having the extension on the low register too. And I was not an extension guy. This is new for me. A number of years ago, I had a 5 string bass for a few years. Like this was like 15 years ago. Then I had for a couple of years a bass with a Stockholm extension, the one that looks like a clarinet,
Mm-hmm.
and I hated. I hated that. It was just I don't know. But now I have this, and I thought, why should I have an extension on a solo bass? Right now, I'm writing 3 different works for bass, uh, and I can't help using those notes. I love it, and I tune. Usually, I tune in the drop D, and I'm still doing this, so I have until low B flat, and it sounds gorgeous.
Those notes there, I think we bass players live for those notes. I'm playing this week with the San Francisco Symphony, and one of the rare occasions we have a low B written in one of the parts. It's very rare to find a low B, but at 2 of us, I have a low B extension on my bass, and I happen to have an extended fingerboard like Andres's bass, which doesn't get in the way at all. That's a question people have. Does that interfere with playing on the G string with the bow? I've never found that to be the case laying into it. But boy, having those notes, we go down to that low B and you just see the whole bass section smile, and it's like it's amazing the resonance possibilities you have with that low extension. It's just really cool. We got a few. Logan writes in, this bass is a great addition to the University of the Pacific bass studio. That's great. I've heard great things about the University of the Pacific. They have a really interesting entrepreneurship program, and I've met a couple. Logan, I may have met you at a past event, but thank you. It's so great that you've got this bass. And we were going to get to this anyway, but this bass, if it's not obvious, is now available to the public. And a lot of people, if you want more details on this bass, we'll put Andres's website. I'm sure Andres would be happy to talk with you if you have more questions. But also, if we have rolled this out here in North America, and we are rolling it out globally as we speak. And so Eastman, the company that I'm the strings product manager, one of them for Eastman. Andres partnered with Eastman to make this bass. Eastman is an international company, so you can get this bass anywhere in the world. And if not right now, you will be able to get it soon. I'm going to paste in the chat a link that you can check out to see some more information. And I'll also paste Andres's website, and that should also be in the post for this or in the description if you're on YouTube or Facebook. But just a few, we're getting all sorts of comments coming in. This is awesome. So let's go. Here's somebody on Facebook, so that's sweet. And by the way, if you're on Facebook and you do want your name to show up, thank you for watching. You can go to this link, streamyard.com/Facebook. Don't need to, of course, but if you want to, that's the way you make this work. Bottazzini played a 3-string bass. That's correct. So you can play solo music just going down to a low A or B, I guess in his case, but you open up even more options of I guess with what we're talking about here.
Well, I have to tell you that I'm this close to finish my 3rd bass concerto, and I already wrote a low B.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I mean, there's an option to play it in the normal bass register, but I couldn't resist. It's at the end of the cadenza, and it sounds like it's just addicting.
Hey, Aaron Shaw is here right now. Hey, Aaron, thanks for joining us. Aaron's a bass player here in the Bay Area. Tom Durnick at UOP for his love of the bass and teaching. That's great. Hope you're doing well, Aaron. Hope to see you again soon at one of our events here in the Bay Area. We've got a lot going on in the San Francisco Bay Area for bass, and Andres has been a part of our events for so long. In fact, you and I first met, Andres, here in San Francisco. I think it was 2015, and I know it feels like it just happened. It feels like a life. It feels like I've known you forever too. So
yes, and then we met in almost every corner in the world.
That's true. That's true. Marco's got a couple more comments here, and let me call this up for Andres.
If you can read those to me, because I'm using my
Okay.
phone and it's
Okay,
very
great.
far away.
I get to test my Spanish. Andrés, ¿qué país consideras que vive un mejor momento en la producción de artistas músicos, Venezuela o Brasil?
Well, I cannot answer to that question. I had the privilege and honor to travel all over the world and travel playing music and playing with other musicians and with orchestras, chamber music, and meeting people from pretty much every country. And I found just an amazing array of talent everywhere. Of course, I've been in Venezuela and I've been in Brazil, and I met so many great musicians from both countries, not only there, but also out in other countries in the world. And it's crazy. I mean, talent is everywhere. And I have no way of no access to any data that can suggest the amount of talent or amount of talented musicians. I have no idea about that. Who's sending more great musicians out to the world? But I do know, and I have met and performed with amazing musicians from both countries and many others.
Well, it's amazing how these tools that we have in today's age make it so much easier to connect. And I applaud what you have done in Mexico to bring the bass community together. I mean, it's really been incredible to be there, fly on the wall, and meet people from all different parts of Mexico. And like we said, we've traveled lots of places, and the more you travel, the more you realize, or I realize at least, that we have in common. And it's just really exciting to see how much talent and passion and creativity in the bass community there really is out there.
Yes, usually the problem we have is that we don't always have the best tools to develop that talent and the best conditions. And actually, this bass it's very inspired in some of that mindset, because this is a budget instrument and there's no sacrifice in quality, there's no sacrifice in tone, but this is still a very accessible instrument. And many of the decisions we've been making and the ideas I had were with this mindset of having something that it's accessible for everyone. And so this is a base that people from Latin America are going to be able to get. And also that's why I requested that in both models the varnish is the same, and the tuning machines are the same, the accessories are the same. So basically, I mean, and that's what I felt immediately when I got the first prototypes. I felt, well, I know this is basically an advanced student base, but I could do my work with this. I could I could keep running my career on this base. And that's something that it's amazing. My last recording, the Juan Soldado suite, was recorded entirely on that first prototype. And to me, I'm crazy proud of how it sounds, and I was able to play everything I've written and everything I wanted. I didn't feel limited at all. I mean, having a better instrument, it always makes things easier. Now I have this and I feel a bit easier. But the other one was not limiting me. And this is something I'm very proud and happy about, because this I envision that this instrument is going to be a very big tool for many talented bassists all over the world, and they are not going to need to have an international income to be able to pay for it.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. And hey, Marcos Machado has joined us, the author of the great
Hi,
Tao of Bass.
Marcos.
Yeah, Marcos, you're the best. And what wonderful, wonderful person. If folks don't follow him, you should be, whether YouTube or Instagram. The work he does is tremendous, and it's just really exciting. And really quick, Andres was mentioning these basses, and they want to let folks know that they come in two different models, and like Andres was saying, the varnish is the same. These are both. This is more of the like kind of like student model, although you could play, I would go play on this version in a professional setting. It's a wonderful bass, and and you can go to eastmanstrings.com for more information. I've been answering questions through Eastman on this bass. There's already been a lot of interest, which is really exciting. I've had to create special new tags in our system to indicate people are interested in this bass, so it's really exciting. And then the bass that you see behind you, it's called the VB 606 SL. SL means solo, and so that is the highest quality woods right there. That is an instrument that a professional can play at a price that's affordable. And if you're interested in the specifics, you can go to eastmanstrings.com and you can get connected to a dealer wherever you are in the world. Again, we're an international company. Andres, I will make sure to put his info in the chat too. You can contact Andres, and I'm sure he's happy to answer any questions. And Andres, you passed along this clip to me today, is just so we can hear this bass. Now, Andres, is this the bass before? This is not the bass behind you, correct?
No, this is
Okay.
106.
Right. Okay. So this is the bass. So this will be interesting for people. So as you continue to listen to what Andres puts out, you're going to be hearing that bass behind him, the 606.
Yeah,
This
and
is the 106. Go ahead.
yeah, but that's also a prototype because it has the
Mhm.
old tuning machines.
Exactly. And
Because the current 106 has the same Rubner tuning
Mhm.
machines that has the one behind me.
Right. So we're still in the prototype phase here, but let me
Yeah.
just play a little bit so folks can hear just on the journey of this bass, what it sounds like, and again, we're still in the development phase here with this, but just listen a little bit to how this bass sounds. I could listen to you play all day, Andres. I don't, folks, I will put the link to this in the chat. This is a video from chamber music ensemble in San Diego you play with. Is that correct, Andres?
Yes, yes, that's Beth Ross from Camerata.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can hear. I mean, you play so elegantly on any instrument, but it's just great to hear that tone quality and that solo kind of.
Isn't that incredible? I mean,
Yeah.
it's I've got so many compliments on that sound
Mm-hmm.
for that bass, and that bass also is the one I picked up one day before from Eastman factory, and I just drove down, changed the strings to solo strings, and it sounded like that.
Wow. So that's just
So
right from the factory without any luthier,
yeah, I mean,
detailed setup.
yes, I mean with new basses, it's always is recommended to take them to your favorite luthier and do a proper setup, with a proper sound post adjustment and the bridge adjustment, all everything to according to your needs and your taste, because a bass can change so much with just an inch adjustment. But this is like without that. Um, so to me, that feels like the base point. You know, like it can't be worse than this. This is the from here I can be only better, and I'm amazed by that. And also one thing that for me is fantastic is that all of them have the same measurements, and that's also something I requested, and it's inside of the standard. It's not too big, not too small. It's and the shoulders, the upper shoulders are so low that it's very very easy and very comfortable to play. And the box is kind of a cone, so it's very small in the upper part, very small. It's very easy to play, especially if you're not a huge Viking, uh, you know, if you are just kind of standard medium-sized human being like me, or even shorter, it's going to be very comfortable. And the rest of the box, because the volume of the box is a 7/8, so you could feel you're not going to do it, but you could put the exact amount of water inside of a 7/8 base, and this one.
Is
Like cars, I never understood why they tell you how many liters you could put in the trunk of a car, because
Mhm.
I will never put any liquid inside. But just to give you an idea, I mean, it's huge, but it's huge on the bottom, and it's never going to bother you at all. But it's crazy, crazy comfortable, and that's why I feel so relaxed and confident to go pick up a new bass, taking out of the box, just tune it, and just go out on stage.
And that shape makes such a difference. It's so cool because you want that volume, that capacity, like you were just describing, just to create the sound. But it's amazing what a difference the upper bout shape can have just on your ability to get around the bass. I remember having a student that he was trying a bass and it was maybe a, a half inch just too big in one direction, and he was doing fine on his own bass. He tried this bass out, started to have all these back pains, and I mean, it's just incredible what finding that right shape can do just to let you get around the bass. Hey, we've got hi from the Colectivo de Contrabajistas de Mexico on here, and Andres, I believe, are you what is your title with this organization? Are you the president of the organization or the
Yes.
okay? Yeah, can you just let folks know? I'm actually talking with them about doing an upcoming event, but I just love what I've learned about this organization. Could you let us know just a little bit about this? Since
Well, this organization is basically a way of reuniting all the bass players in Mexico who wants to do something for bass, and everything we do, it's going to be a benefit for everyone inside of the collective. And the way this organization works is that everyone who wants to do something, who wants to run a project that could be for the benefit of the community, is going to have support. It's not a space where someone can do a project for themselves. But if you, I don't know, if you want to run, have any idea about something you could do that will benefit the community of bass players, then we're going to work towards finding a way of making that happen. So we are still in the process of experimenting with new projects, with new ideas, but we are already doing many things, and there are many beautiful projects that have been done and are currently going on, like free master classes and some research, some information tools like where to study in Mexico, who are the teachers. I mean, there's a two children festivals already happened, two composition contests for children bassists. So it's endless, and the best part of it is that it brings out this community mindset out of so many bass players, because I have been blessed to know many bass players from Mexico, and most of them, they share this mindset of community, of doing something that will benefit us all. And I just wanted to find a way that we could amplify this, and we could create a space for these people to get together and to do things.
It's beautiful. I remember talking to you about this when I met you and you picked up that bass just a few months ago, the bass behind you. And it's great to see that spirit of community. And it's great to see what has been done so far with this organization. I was just backstage yesterday, scrolling through the website and looking at all the people that have been involved so far. And I think this ties into our conversation about this bass, because one of the we need tools to further our craft, and just access to instruments that are reasonably priced, but that take you where you want to go. That's a major challenge still for everybody worldwide. But I think that having both of these instruments, but maybe the 106 and the more affordable price, I think that's just going to be so wonderful for people looking to take their career to the next level.
Yeah, I always felt like, especially in my experience with bass players from Latin America, I always felt like if you wanted to play as a soloist, you either had to have a second instrument or have to have a great, fantastic one single bass that does it all. And that's it's already hard to have a one good bass over here. And I already uh, performed in front of an orchestra as a soloist with a 106, and it works perfect. It works beautifully. And the 606 is like, for me, it's like having a Lamborghini. But I could be happy to use the other one. And that's why I didn't want it to sacrifice the small details. That's why I wanted the same varnish, the same machines in both of them. Because, I mean, it could be student priced, but it's a very good base. And that gives me hopes that it could be a tool for too many. I don't know, maybe for some who have a limited budget, or for some who maybe they work in an orchestra and they want a second bass to play eventually solos. Um, I don't know. It's an option that at least was not out there, and it's not going to fit everyone because, as you said before, we all have a different needs and different bodies. But if you are like me and you like not huge bases, I mean, I love them. I love the huge bases, but I don't like my back pain and my head pain. When I was younger, I always craved for big bases, and I owned a few of them, and of course I sold them. Unless it's the Hutchins bass. That one, it's like, okay, I sacrificed my back for a couple days to play on that bass, but I wouldn't dare to play a single note in the thumb position of that bass.
Yeah, the bass Andres is talking about, our mutual friend Joe McNally has this, and Mark Dressera has one of these in his studio too, down in San Diego. The Hutchins, Carlin, I will tell this as short as possible. But Carlin Hutchins, I believe it was, created this series of instruments that were acoustically proportionate to each other. So this bass version, it looks like the bass that a giant would play. It's just this tremendously large bass. It is physically possible to play this bass, but it looks kind of comical. If you go to my Instagram feed and you scroll way back, you'll find photos of all of us at one of your bass events playing this. I remember Sue
Yes.
Wolf and the San Diego Symphony just laughing hysterically, trying to get around this bass. It just, you look like you're about 4 feet tall next to this bass.
Yes, I mean, if you are giant like Mark Dresser, there's no problem, right? But I found I sometimes I could be playing on that bass in a stair, like me on top of a very small bench. Uh, but it sounds so big and so huge
Yeah.
and so open, especially the lowest notes.
Mhm.
That playing in a chamber situation where you only are playing in the middle and low register is just crazy rewarding, but it's a physical job. It's
Yeah.
really exhausting. I love it, but for everything else, I'd rather have this one.
Well, I think it solves so many problems. I just love this instrument. Folks, if you want to reach out to Andres, and if you definitely go to his website and follow him wherever you hang out, whether it's Instagram or YouTube or Facebook. He's putting out wonderful content. We're closing in on time here. If anybody has any more questions, and thank you for everybody who has been participating. This is just so great, and it's fun to see people coming from the Facebook group and from YouTube and from different parts of the world. And we've had people hop on from Thailand and from South America and just really Mexico. It's been really fun. And feel free to also reach out to me if you have any questions. And yeah, any final thoughts before we close out here, Andres?
No, that my final thought is that I wish that everyone has a chance to play it and to experience it. I look forward the next conventions and bass events where I can be showing up this bass. I know many people is gonna love it. I'm crazy in love with it, with every single thing about it. And right now I'm finishing setting up my new studio, and I'm gonna start recording again and producing things again, and I'm crazy excited about doing it with this bass.
I can't wait to follow along with what you do. And folks, if you are interested in this bass, and you probably are if you've been watching this, if you visit this website, this is linked to in the description for wherever you're watching this. You can get on the Eastman email list, and anytime we're doing an event near you where this bass will happen, we will send you an email. So if you're interested, but you live wherever, this is a good way to get in touch. Obviously you can reach out to Andres or you can reach out to me. That would be great, but we will let you know when this is getting near you. And it's I really appreciate all the people that have joined us here live, all the people that are watching in the future. Andres, I could talk with you all day. I know you've got many projects, my friend. So thank you for hanging out. Thank you everybody for watching, and hope to join you all again, and Andres join you again in person on a live stream, wherever. Just thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
You bet. All right. I will